Hey there everyone, my name is Hitesh and welcome to PW Skills YouTube channel, the PW Skills Tech, where we are going to discuss, in this special video, we are going to discuss about the Tailwind section. Now Tailwind is one such revolutionary thing which has actually transformed the way how we are writing CSS. Before we begin this entire series, let me mention this clearly that I'm not a CSS guru, I just get my work done or barely done by knowing what the things are there. So I'm not an absolute guru in that. But I know decent enough that I can get up and running in the CSS world in the Tailwind, and I can design a few basic stuff in that, and that's probably more than enough for anybody to get started because most of the time as a programmer you'll be focusing on the JavaScript, either the front end part like React or Angular or back end part of it. Yes, there are people who are absolute design masters in the Tailwind, but don't expect that from this series. And let's get started with that. First of all, prerequisite. There are some prerequisite for this video if you want to get started. This video is not 100% beginner friendly, that if you know nothing about CSS, have never programmed in it, or don't know what padding margin or the box size is, this video is not going to serve you anything at all. Tailwind is a level 1 of a segment. It's not a level 0 segment. The level 0s are definitely HTML and CSS. What Tailwind does is it allows you to write CSS in a faster and easier manner with utility first approach. So obviously it's not going to teach you what the background color is, what the padding size is, and how to actually add more padding or remove padding. That's not what the Tailwind is all about. Tailwind is all about that you don't have to move into a separate CSS file. Your CSS files are not going to conflict with each other. What you're expecting is what you're going to get. That's what the Tailwind is all about. So Tailwind, I absolutely love it, but there is a right way or wrong way of learning the Tailwind. There is not wrong way, I would say, but there are better ways of learning the Tailwind CSS, and a lot of time people fall into the bad approach. So I'll walk you through with the good approach of learning that. There's so much you can do with the Tailwind. So these couple of videos, either they are segmented all together or they are separate videos. I'll walk you through what the Tailwind is. We'll start obviously by reading the documentation. For every single thing, we'll be working on learning the basics, then build the project, look the documentation, build the project, look the documentation. That's how I learned it, and that's how I'm going to teach you as well. So let's get started with that. So the first very thing is I always recommend people is to just get started. That's the best way to learn with it. So I'll just start a new window of my VS Code extension. I'll just remove everything up here. And after this, I'll just drag and drop a Tailwind skills folder here. Just feel free to create a new folder on your desktop, on your developer folder, wherever you try to keep it. Now, you don't need to do too much here. We'll actually be creating and removing this. Let me first tell you what is the bad approach of having this. Usually people go in the installation section and then simply search for Tailwind, because somehow they believe that if they install this Tailwind extension, the Tailwind is going to give you suggestion for pretty much everything that you'll be writing. That's correct, but there's a wrong way of doing things. I've already installed this extension. If you haven't, just go ahead and install it. This will give you all the suggestions like this. So I have this one. Now after this, usual approach, which is a lazy approach, not a good approach, is just create a folder like index.html. I'll just create this one. And just look out for the boilerplate code just like this with extension of emmet, and we simply go ahead and say this is Tailwind at PW skills. All right. Now if I go back, I obviously am the documentation. I'll walk you through with a lot of detail about this homepage. Even there is so much to study onto it. But if I click on the docs, you'll find that, hey, there is installation section and guide here. So installation section. And we can see that the installation is Tailwind, Postgres, Place CDN. So I think Place CDN is the easiest one. What I have to do is, grab the script file. Okay, I'll grab this and then I can simply go ahead and paste it. All right. And then you can do is all these classes. So if I copy this hello world CSS like this, it should technically just give me 3XL, bold and underline. Is it true? Let's figure it out. Save this and right click and open up in the live server, which already is an extension. Yes, it gives me bold and it gives me these underline, and it works. It works great. But can I have a more suggestion on what this 3XL is? Or maybe I want to have a background color. So I know that there is a BG-orange-600 or 700. But there is no suggestion. I can press control space, command space, no suggestion at all. So why my suggestions are disabled? Why they are not coming? It's working. So technically it's there, But you will probably never be able to learn Tailwind via this way, because without suggestion, I think it's almost next to impossible to learn Tailwind. Yes, there are pretty crazy programmers or CSS masters who can actually do all things with this way. Not me. I'm not one of them. I need suggestions. And this way actually never is going to give you the suggestions. For this, you have to actually use a proper CSS installation, at least a Tailwind CSS. Which actually requires you to install Node.js. So if you haven't yet, nodejs.org, go ahead and install Node.js. This is a must-have requirement, even if you want to learn just the CSS. And then I'll show you that how this entire thing works and all this. I'll do the setup. But first, let's go back and talk about what the Tailwind CSS is and what we can actually learn just by looking at the website and understand the basics of it. So it says rapidly build modern website without ever leaving HTML. So in case you have noticed, we were able to grab the CSS. We never wrote any CSS class. And this thing known as text dex 3xl. So obviously it increases the text size. It's a background orange, font bold and underline. So nobody wrote these CSS, and there is no CSS file even. I was able to write all of this in just my HTML file. And that's exactly what they're saying, that you never have to leave your HTML. Assume that all the classes are written for you, and each class does a single job. For example, in this, there's a shade of orange which I'll apply in the background. That's it. That is a separate class. It does that. There's a font bold which just does the bold of the font. That's what it means by utility classes. One utility does just the one purpose, and that's the basic idea of how things are being designed and being done. Underline, simple. It just does the underline, nothing else. Similarly, we have 4xl, 5xl, all of these things are there, which just makes the font a little bit bigger than the before. So yes, but the problem is, what does the 5xl actually means? What does the 4xl means? How much in pixels actually I'm getting? And for this, you obviously have to search for it, that what does it mean by when I say text dash 5xl? What does it mean? So it says font size, okay. The core concepts are here, but the typography is what I'm looking up for. So notice here there is some font size and all of that. So you can look and search for it, that where is this? There is the base size and all of that. But here what I'm using is text dash 5xl. So I want to increase my font. So again, you can just go ahead and search for it, that I want to increase my font size, something like that. So let's just see what the font size, all these typographies are. So we can see the text dash sm. There is more, and we are using the 5xl. So probably we are using 3.052 rems. Again, nobody will teach you that what the rem and all these things are, but that's why I say it's not a beginner friendly series. It needs to have that idea about what CSS is. And then you can work on with that. For example, I don't want this 5xl. I want my font to be 20 pixels or 22 pixel to be precise. So you can go ahead and use square brackets and can say 22 pixels. Now your font is precisely 22 pixels if you want that, or if you want 220 pixels, yes, that is allowed. That can be done in the CSS world. But yes, there are some predefined things which are given to you. You don't need to memorize it. Eventually, just by eyeballing the things, you'll be able to do it and learn a lot of things just like here. So when I say I use the 2xl, so obviously I'm using a 1.5 rems, 1.9 rems or 2.4 rems. So eventually you'll figure out and learn the things that how that can be done. And there's more. You can just go ahead and search for the text size, that I want to learn about the text size. Hey, give me that. And it will automatically say, hey, that's not text size, it's a font size. And what do you want? I can just show you that to documentation. You can learn about them, that what does the smaller means and all of that. So that's basic idea about it. Now let's jump back. We understand this first portion of it. It says utility first CSS framework. That means classes like flexbox, padding at the top 4. Yes, eventually he'll get accustomed to what they are saying is text center, padding, margin, all of that. But it's actually easy comparatively, and searching portion is also easy. Now notice here, this is a really interesting example, that how with just text center and all of that, they were able to design and do so many things just with the HTML itself. There is no CSS involved. And you can just adopt a design which is based on mobile as well as on web, different ones. And by the way, Tailwind is a mobile first. So whatever the CSS you are writing, it's actually for mobile devices. If you want to override them for a bigger device, then you have to explicitly write that. There is no implicit thing being done. All the CSS is for mobile. If you want it to be done for the bigger one, go ahead and make sure you explicitly mention that. And in the documentation, we'll be definitely touching with that. So again, notice here, they say API for your design system. So it's almost like APIs. When you say width 96%, hey, this is the width you will get. When you say 80%, just say W80 and you will get the width 80, 70, 64. Yes, and you can use square brackets for the exact values. Similarly, we have colors as well. You might have noticed I was using a color similar to this syntax, BG-orange-400. If you have these extension being installed and properly setup of the Tailwind is done, then you can actually use that, and in fact your browser will give you a color suggestion just right here that what shade of orange is doing. That's IntelliSense of Tailwind. We'll see how that is being done. Similarly, we have typography as well, that we want fonts, we want text smaller, text big. There are all kind of sort of things. Even shadows are there. So you want a harsh shadow, you want a large shadow, you want a background white, rounded one card. There's so much of the utilities being given. And look at this card. It's not like CSS generated by Tailwind is always the simplest. It's always, you can go all crazy. This is the simplest, which I prefer most of the time, but you can go all playful. This is all cool, nice, all the modern design. You can go with the elegant versions of it, or you can go all the brutalist version of it. So it's not restricting you. Bootstrap technically restrict you only to stuck in a particular design system, Twitterish design system. But here you are totally up to your choice. The same thing is achieved by Tailwind. So technically, if you focus a little bit more on the understanding part, it's a utility all given to you. So it's actually somebody wrote a whole core CSS for it and you're just using it. That's it. So there is no restriction on it. And it's tiny. One other thing which a lot of people say that, hey, Tailwind can be a little baggy. Yes, it can be baggy when you actually load the entire Tailwind. So all of this, which is possibly in the Tailwind, if you load all of that, then obviously it will be baggy. But if you just use this syntax here, so if I go ahead and scroll back, whatever you're writing, only that much CSS is generated. And if you properly install it in your output file, in your .css file, yes, ultimately Tailwind generates a CSS file. All you got is just those CSS, not the entire CSS which is available in the world. And that's why it says it's tiny. But if you use it in the wrong way, it's really big. It's really big, but don't use it in the wrong way. And similar to this, responsive, that's what it's saying, that, hey, now you can actually go ahead and target the breakpoints like smaller breakpoints. You can change the images from 1 to 2. On the medium breakpoint, you can get them 3. On the larger ones, you can actually change the entire layout. This all is done by the CSS. Again, it's always the mobile device first. So for example, if I go ahead and look for it, this PY6 and PX4 is for all the devices, starting from mobile. But if you want to override something for smaller ones, medium ones, or something like that, then you have to explicitly mention SM colon or something like this. For example, to show you a basic idea about it, my BG orange is 700. So if I go ahead onto this one, the BG orange will be always orange. But if I want to override that, I don't like this BG orange. It should be something like maybe pink, purple, violet, or what else? Yellow, red. Let's go with the red. So I have to explicitly mention that as soon as you hit the medium device by saying MD, then a colon, then change whatever the property you want to change. And again, you have to write for all of it. For example, I'll say the BG should be red of 500, whatever that is. So this property will not always be applied. Right now you're saying that, hey, this is red, this is not orange, because I told you mobile first. That means medium and above. Right now we are above. So if you go back again onto the medium, yes, you are on orange, but as soon as you hit the medium breakpoint, you can change the breakpoint as well, by the way. Above that, all of this is red. But let's just say you said, hey, no, I'm not happy with the red on the bigger screen. So you have to explicitly mention that on the larger screen, I want that the background should be, what else? Yellow of 800. So that's what it will be. And again, you have to type it correctly. Right now, we don't have IntelliSense or properly installed Tailwind. So that's why it's giving us a problem. But it's yellow, whatever that shade is. And on the medium device and above, it's there. And on the smaller one, so it is. So that's what I'm saying. It's always a mobile first Tailwind. And you should always respect that. That's what this whole thing is trying to say, that you have these breakpoints designed for you, but you can go ahead and change that. And not only that, you can change the states of it. So notice the button. If I hover over this button, obviously it changes the stuff. We can actually take an example of this. Probably on the hover, we want to change some stuff. So you can go ahead and do this. And again, you have to write the state, just like we have write MD, LG and all of that. You have to say on the hover, what I want to do. The background should be green, maybe green, and what green? 400 maybe, I don't know. So now it is all good. But if I hover over this, as soon as I hover, this changes the state. So in the world of Tailwind, there is so much that you can do with just basics of it. And there are not just hover states, there are focus states, active, disable, groups. There's so many. Everything that's possible in the CSS, it's actually available here. Almost everything. It's of course compatible with React, Vue, and Angular. That's where majorly you actually use it, but there's no compulsion. You can use Tailwind out of the box with the proper configuration. That's a great thing. It also has a dark mode that by default, if your system prefer the dark mode, you can actually write the dark. And again, it's really simple. If you go ahead and look at this, they actually show you the version of it, how they actually added the dark mode. So if I go ahead and just turn it on, notice here, everything changes. It doesn't happen automatically. Notice here, in here, this says dark colon. What happens in the dark mode, then text becomes this one and all of that. So just like hover in all these states, we have to actually mention this. Told you there is so much to learn just from the homepage of the Tailwind, and that's why a lot of people love about it, that how this can be done. And again, they give you examples of simple, playful colors and all that, but you can go ahead and choose your own colors, modify them however you want. Not only that, my favorite one is Flexbox. I want to do everything with the Flexbox, but yes, there are some nice talks on the grid as well in a couple of the conferences. And they love grid, but I don't. I am the Flexbox guy, so I always prefer that. You can see this is the basics of a grid. But if you actually use Tailwind, you will say that, hey, grid is not actually that bad in the Tailwind because it's super easy to configure. But in the core CSS, it's too much of the code. So this is your basic grid. But if you want to transform this, yes, you can do this crazy. You can use filters, blur, and all of that. But the point is, if you don't know how to achieve this look with the blur, or this look with the sepia in the CSS, it will be difficult for you to actually achieve this look in the Tailwind as well, because behind the scene, it's just the basic Tailwind, the CSS that you're using. And of course, the IDE support, I'll walk you through that, how properly you can use it and move faster. They recently had a conference, really nice conference up there. I couldn't go there, sadly, but I'm planning to very soon. So this is all what we have studied and learned just from the home page. Yeah, that much. But I think it's time that we actually go into the docs and properly do a setup actually with the Tailwind CLI. This is really one of the most easiest thing that how we can actually go ahead and do this. There are a couple of steps that you can actually skip and work with that. Let's go ahead and do this. We'll just go ahead and delete this because that's not usable for us now. We want to do a proper configuration of how that needs to be done. Go back. Here actually, if you have an existing project like React, Angular, something, then you can obviously install it as a dev dependency. We don't have that project, so we don't need to run actually mindlessly these two commands. Just use one of them, which one is good for you. I'll start an npx tailwind init because I want to start a project from the very scratch. I don't have anything in it, so I'll just go ahead and first do this one. I'll go up here, open up my terminal in the same folder. I'll go ahead and just paste this. This is a proper way of actually having the Tailwind. Once you do this, it does nothing. It just adds a Tailwind config file. This is the configuration file which tells the IntelliSense that load the colors, load the suggestions. So you have to give her all of this. Now in this, this guy will say that, hey, look for all the things in the content. I'll give you a folder name and all of that. Let's actually copy whatever is it's saying inside this one. So copy this, go back up here. Inside the content, I'll paste this one. So it's saying that, hey, the content from which you have to take the configuration from the HTML file, of course, is inside the source. And if there is even a folder inside it or something like that, just look for every HTML file or JS file. All right, let's see. So technically what we have to do is create a folder that says src. And now every file folder inside the src will be tracked for me. That's great. Let's try this out. So I'll just say this one is going to be index or maybe 1.html. So probably in theory it will track all of this. So let's go ahead and try this and we'll use the same one. We'll say that h1 is going to have a test and probably CSS file should be giving to me. So I'll just say class and suggest me. For example, the text should be dash 2xl. So all right, suggestions are there. Let's just see bg dash orange. So now we can see at least the suggestions are popping up and I can see and walk through with that. And if I right click and open it up with the live server, suggestions were there, but there is no transform or changes. Actually, my CSS is not working. All right, let's see what more is there because we haven't done the proper configuration. So this part was done. Now it's saying that, hey, add a Tailwind directives to your CSS. Okay. So in the source, I have to create an input.css file and I have to actually copy paste all of this. That's what the instructions are saying. Let's go there and notice here it says, hey, inside the source, we have to give this. But notice here we have created a source directory, everything is there, and inside this we have to create an input directory just like that. So this is technically your input file where all the things are going. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and create a new file here, and I'll say this one is input.css. So based on this directory, it will actually try to generate a CSS file for you. Now, the interesting part is this is the command which actually generates CSS for you. So I'll copy this and go back into the terminal and see what this command is actually doing. So this command is technically saying that, hey, you know what you have to do is I'll run the Tailwind with the input expected that the input file is written in the source and input.css. Okay, that's exactly where my file is. And the output is going to be inside the distribution and out.css. All right. We don't have that distribution folder. If you wish, you can grab that. But again, it's up to you that how you actually configure this, manipulate this and all of that. So what I'll do is I'll manipulate this command. I don't have a distribution folder. I want to do everything inside the src. I'll just keep this file into the source because the input file is this, where I have just this 3 lines of code. That's it. I want to create an output file from this. So I'll just say output.css, and the watch command is continuously watch this file. From where? Not from this CSS that we are writing input. Watch everything which is inside the source. So where the content is, keep on watching the content. And if there is a new CSS that I'm writing in the utility first, go ahead and generate a CSS for it. So I'll just go ahead and do this. Once I do this, notice here there is an output.css file for me, but this is not the job done. Just because you have created a CSS file doesn't mean your CSS will start working. Obviously, this is not, here we are. This is not going to work. The next step that you have to do is actually treat this now that, hey, Tailwind is something which is kind of a pre-processor, which is working behind the scene. In reality, you have to actually attach your CSS just like this. So instead of the style, that's output.css that we have. All right, back again, a little itchy throat, bad throat. So we have to say that output.css once we have this. Now if I link this, now notice here that everything is there. Every time it's going to rebuild. And if you look at the output.css, obviously there is some boilerplate code here, which is just making everything 0. So that's majorly a flush out code. So all the code that you see, don't get scared with it. Most of this that you are going to see here, all this portion in this is all generated code. That means it's trying to get the browser in the reset state, all the browsers, Safari, Chrome and all of that. The actual code is actually written up here. If you go at the very end of it, the generated code is just this much. Till at the very top, till the line number 518 or something, that's all basic. But we have added only the text size and the background color. So notice here, the background color and the text size, that's it. So this is the line of code that was generated for you. And it will keep on generating the code as you go for more. For example, I want a little bit of padding of it. Just don't think about it. Just get a padding of 5 from all the side, padding from on the x-axis, no, on the y-axis, I'll get a 4. So I'll just save this. I'll just go back and see, yeah, that looks great. And if I go ahead and check out my output.css, more code was generated for me only for padding and the text. So whatever you're using, you're only shipping that. The above 500 line code, see, in the world of CSS, 500 is nothing. Most of them are actually variables. That's it. They are not being used. And rest of them are just resetting. So vertical align, display blocks. So they are just preparation. So you don't technically count them. Even if you're going to write project CSS for manually as well, you think that I'll never write this code, but actually you have to do this in the production, especially at the scale of something like Amazon, Facebook and all of that. They have this flush code every time. So that's being loaded. So the great part is, since I have added this watch, it's continuously watching this. If anytime you want to stop it, just stop it. And the only thing that you have to ship is this 1.html along with your output CSS. So these 2 files, that is it. That is it, your Tailwind. But when you go ahead, and this is the basic of how you actually work with the Tailwind. This is the proper way. But in case you have other things like React or something, then obviously we go with a little bit different way, not too much drastically, but that's how basically it is. You can also use it with the post CSS and all of that. They have the framework guidelines as well, that how to use it with Next.js, Svelte, Remix, whatever is your favorite one. You want to do some things on your own, a little crazy, so use Parcel. Yes, there is everything for them. So that's the basic of how this is being done. Whatever I've told you so far about the in-depth discussion about the Tailwind, that is all what you need. If you know you have the confidence in the CSS, you don't need even a minute to watch later on this. But again, I can understand this, that you are not yet familiar much with that. You want some projects to be done to see an idea, get the basics. All right, so this is how the classes works. This is how I can read the documentation. For that, you obviously need projects. And from this section onwards, we'll try to create a couple of projects based on how much the demand is from your side. So if you're enjoying the video, do let me know, put up a comment that you are enjoying this kind of a project style of the video. So I'll try to do that. This is the next what we'll be building up. This is super simple, absolute basic, but what the ability Tailwind gives us is it works on mobile, mobile responsive. This is the best part. This is something which anybody can design. But writing the minimalist of the CSS and having it like goes like this, some of the people who are big enthusiasts of Flexbox will say, hey, I can do this with the Flexbox. Yes, you can. I can too, but I can do it faster in the Tailwind and more optimized with the less headache. That's what I want. And automatically you can add 3 cards, 4 cards, they will all be wrapped up. So the magic is not coming up from the Tailwind. The magic is obviously the display property of CSS, which is Flexbox, giving me this whole entire thing. But Tailwind is making it easier to do such kind of things much more easily. So for this, let's go ahead and try to build a project. I'll show you this check marks and all that I'm bringing in from the font awesome. So I'll give you directly that. You can see the code part as well. There might be somewhere in the link description above bottom somewhere that will help you to get all these code files as well. So don't you worry, we'll give you that as well. Let's try to create a new folder, a new file actually. It's tracking all the files, so I don't have to do the tracking again. So we'll call this one as cards.html. Let's go with the boilerplate code. That's absolute basic. Now we won't be using the Tailwinds just like this, the Tailwind CADNs and all of that. No, that's not it. But we are going to use a link which is from the font awesome. So I'll just give you that. You can find this link directly as well online as well. I also found it online. There is nothing that I'm making this up. Just look for the CDN font awesome version 6.4. That's the easiest one I looked for. So I got this one. And now let's test out that whether all the CSS are being generated and are tracked properly. I'll show you common mistake as well. So let's just say if I go ahead with H1, there are a couple of classes. In the emit suggestions, you won't find the Tailwind CSS suggestions. So it's not really wise to go ahead and come up right here like BG-orange or something, because you don't get any color suggestion. The better approach is actually to write an H1, in that you can write a simple test and then come here and write a class name, and then automatically your suggestions will be coming up. Again, the configurations are there, so technically the suggestions should come up automatically. For example, now I can go ahead and say text-4XL, so you can see that suggestion, and the background is going to be peach. No, we have purple. Okay, we'll go with the purple 700, and we'll get a padding of padding 8.5. Padding 5 is good. And we can see that now the padding 5 is actually 1.25 rems or 20 pixels. So suggestions, I love them. Save this. What you'll notice is a common mistake. If I right click and open it up with the live server, you see nothing there. Why? Because first of all, this needs to link up with the same output. That's where we are actually generating. So even though if you have actually gone ahead and says, I want to connect with a CSS file known as output CSS, it still doesn't do anything. It just resets everything because that's what Tailwind does. But it hasn't generated my specific purple version. That's the reason why I didn't use the BG red. If I use the BG red, that will work. And that is a little bit confusing for a lot of people, that why, what's on the God green's earth is this magic that the background red is working, but the purple is not. The reason for that is you need to actually go into the continuous watch mode. If you remember, we have this command which actually generates it. Even if you don't want it into watch mode, at least generate it once so that your code files are there, your CSS is generated, and that's what we have. All right. So this is the basic setup. We'll obviously go in the watch mode, so it continuously watch it, and I don't have to worry or bother about what's happening, how is it happening, and all of that. So this testing is all done. We can just go ahead and remove this. We are not interested in that. I'll just go ahead and add a div, and that's it. Now let's go ahead and work on with this div. First of all, the classes. The way how it is being designed is obviously I want to use a full width. I want to go flexbox. Again, in the flexbox, I want to use a flex wrap. So automatically items actually wraps up when the space is less. I want to use some gaps, and I want to keep everything at center. If you want to keep anything at the center, then first give the height of the page, and then your friends justify center align items. That is it. So let's go ahead, do one by one. W is going to give you width. W0 means 0 pixel, and you can go ahead and say, hey, I want 10. So it will give you a width of 10, which is 40 pixels around. But there are keywords actually available for you. For example, you can use a full. So that gives you 100% of the width. Nice. You can also give some of the heights and all these things as well. But first, let's start flexbox. Simple flex. That's it. Display flex property is given to you. Flex wrap. That's it. The flex wrap property is aligned, given to you. And all you have to do is say flex wrap wrap. This is what the CSS file will be generated. If I save this, I can technically go in the output CSS and find it. So we can technically find it here. So flex wrap, width full. I told you. It's magic that happens behind the scene. Once you have the flex wrap, let's give it a gap of 10. And when I say gap dash 10, there is nothing magic that's happening. I know that's a 40 pixel gap. If I want less, I can just try. So everybody runs CSS with trial and error, and that's what I do at least. I'm not a super guru in the CSS. I just trial and error. That's how I do it. So I'll just say justify center, items center. Items center. Now this technically should bring everything to the center of screen, but it won't because, hey, there is right now no width to the, not any height to this page. How can I give height to this page? I have no idea about that. So let's try to search in the documentation that I want to give a height to the screen. So height to the screen. So there are some properties around height. Let's see how that's being done. So there's a h-screen. Okay, what does it does? H-screen will give you a height of the screen. All right. So there's a h8. So there's so many things that you can do. I want to give a full height of the screen. So let's just see what we can search for more. I want to give the minimum height of 100% to the screen. So is there a property with the min height on the screen? So if I just go ahead and search for it, height dash screen. No, there's a min height property only. So notice here it says, there is a min height 50%. Can I use something like this? Let's go ahead and copy this. Try this out. Min height 50%. Save this. Let's see what's happening. Right now we are not able to generate this. All right. So when I say min height is 50%, it actually generates 50% of the height. But of what? There is no content on my page. I want to use something, a property. I'll show you that directly. There is something known as a screen, which actually gives you min height 100% of viewport height. That's exactly what I want. So yes, there are more ways of generating this, but this is exactly what I want. Once I have this height, obviously the content is at the center. That's exactly what I wanted, the content to be in the center. Easiest way. And then we can go ahead and use a background. What I want in this, let's just say we go with the blue. We'll go with the 600 version of it, save it. That's it. That is it. All of your worries and everything, your item is at the center and all of height, width, flex, gaps, all of this. I can even add more properties. So for example, if I don't like this test just like this, I can go ahead and add it just there. And I can say, give me H1 and give me 2 of those. And I'll say with the content of test. So there we go. We have 2 tests. They are test. They have 40 pixels of gap between them. This won't wrap because they are very small already. But if I would have cards here, they would have automatically shrinked. And that's what I absolutely love about it. Now, instead of this H1, obviously we need card. So let's design one of it and then we'll copy paste the basics of it. So again, we'll go with the div just like this and we'll have a test at the init and we'll try to design a card. Let's go with the class name. So how does the card? Now, first, obviously your designer usually will give you the height and width of the card. Similarly, my designer has given me a width and height. So it's usually 228 pixel. Again, if you don't like that, then go with the hard-coded values. Like if designer says 228 pixels, you can always go with that. But I know that there are some similar, or I don't really bother about 1 pixels or 2 pixels. That's why designers are usually mad at me. But hey, I'll take that. I'll say width 72 and the height is going to be 96. Yes, we pre-calculated that with the handoff in the Figma. But yeah, we got that. And then we simply go ahead and add the margin as well. Let's just say margin on y-axis, I want 4, which will give me 1 rem of margin from each side, or 16 pixels, basics. I want that the text should be a gray variant of it. What gray variant? Let's go with 400. That's what I want it to be. I want the cards to be rounded. So I'll just say rounded. That's it. I can go ahead and make it more rounded by saying larger, small, none, like that. I'll go with large, so rounded. If I save this, nothing is there. It's there, but actually it's difficult to see that whether we have it or not. For this, I'll actually show you something really interesting. I want a BG of cover. Okay, Hitesh, BG cover is there, but I don't have anything. There is no background property. For this, we can actually go ahead and say bg dash, and then you can actually provide a URL as well. So for providing the URL, you just have to give a square brackets, and inside this you can provide the URL property. So just like this, URL, go like this, oops, extra, and then in the quotes itself just provide an image. I do have an image already with me, and this image actually is taken up or given to me from the team itself. And I would say credit goes to the entire FreePic team for giving us this theme. So our designers actually directly used it. They, I am aware of it, probably they are not. We have to give credits as well. So I'll just give the credits. I'll directly hide code it, credit all to FreePic. So credits are for FreePic, this pic is from FreePic. And as you can see now, automatically, since you have some content inside the card, the rounded is actually coming up. So rounded LG, you can go more of it. So if I just look for it, suggestions, rounded XL, 3XL. So we have a lot of variants and comings of that. If you go with the rounded, this is how the rounded looks like. If you don't mention anything, then obviously it's a squarish. We get that. All of this is generated. Can you see how fast the Tailwind is actually able to generate all of this? So I'll just go with the rounded, probably LG version of it. LG, I'm happy with this. I'm fine with this. So notice here how much we were able to do all of this with just so basics and so basic of the CSS. Now for sure, I'll just go ahead and add a couple of more here that will be used later on. For example, I want padding on x-axis to be 8. We'll use it in a minute. And I want padding on the y-axis to be 4 so that we have the entire elements in the center. Right now we have nothing. This is really bad of a color text, but we'll get that. No problem there. Now instead of the test, we'll just remove it and we'll try to add some more content to it. Just like the content we saw. So this is our reference card that we have. So we have startup, free forever. These are just H3 with some styling properties, so shouldn't be bothered much about it. So this one is saying startup, start dash up. So there we go, we have the startup. And here we can add more classes. So something like this, we'll go with the class. What class here? Text should be LG. So there we go, text is LG. We were using a blue variant in it, so I think that's a 600 on fit. 600, we'll go with that. Again, you can ask your designer for the more specific value of it, and we'll get a font of bold. That's it, and hopefully things should be all good. There we go, told you, startup as it is. We can actually make a copy of this H3, so let's have a copy. And this one is actually exactly same. There is no difference. Apart from this one is actually extra bold. Yeah, there is extra light and extra bold properties. And there we go, startup like this. Again, if you wish, you can go ahead and change the values. Like here, we have a different font. We can actually borrow this font. Yeah, it's free forever. So copy this. Whatever the designers or the content team has given to you, just go ahead and paste it just like this. And now we have this one. All right. So this is the basic how we can actually grab all of this and works really fine. We do have a paragraph with the lorem ipsum. So I'll just brought it directly here. So there is nothing too much. It just is a lorem ipsum, no styling, nothing at all. So that's basically it. And also we'll be having some of the unordered list as well. I'll bring them directly here because there is no added advantage on this one. There is no CSS that we are discussing. It just says have a space and then the text is blue and we have some span and text. So basically this is how it looks like. What's interesting is outside of this UL, because outside of this UL, we have a button. Now it's totally up to you that you want to make it via the button. You want to make it via the div. We can make it both. I'll actually show you with both. I'll just say request a demo. This is right now a plain text, but I can transform any button or any lookable like button or button itself into a nice, decent button. Just like this, piece of cake. Over with the hover animation as well. And you'll notice that how easy it is in the Tailwind. Obviously, I'll go with the class name. The first thing which comes to my mind is bring the text to the center. So, okay, I'll just say text center. That's it. All right, text is already at the center. Next thing is I want to give a border and a border of blue. Okay, let's go with that. So I'll just say border and I'll just say border and border dash blue. So that actually allows me to get a border of the color. So I'll just go with the blue 600, which is usually what I are using. All right, so job done. Now what do we want next? It should be rounded. All right, so let's go with the rounded. Let's go with the medium. No, medium is not what the designers actually gave us. It's actually much more than this. So you can actually go with the 3XL, 4XL. There's a lot of values. Yes, this is moreover looking like it, but the padding is missing in this one. Obviously, if you don't know padding and margin difference, this tutorial is not serving you anything. So what we can do is give the paddings and margin a little bit. So padding on the y-axis, let's try 2. Let's see. All right, looking good. Let's try a little bit padding on the x-axis also, a little bit more. Padding on the x-axis, maybe 4. Actually, that's collapsing as well. So that's okay. That's okay. We are happy with this. So this is good. But as you notice here, this is all good. But the text should be actually. We forgot the text should also have a color. So no big deal. We can always give the text some colors as well. So what colors of the text we would like to give? Text blue, I think. 600. Yeah, that's the one. All right, so looking much better, but we don't have any hover effect. So what's the hover effect? In the hover effect, we just change the background and the text color. That is it. That is all what we are doing. I told you, it's super easy. Now, the best thing about is I can define the hover state as well. And the only thing which I don't like it, actually, there is no other way of doing it. Easier way actually, you have to define each property with the hover that this is the state I want to change. I'll show you what does it mean by that. So on the hover, I want the background to be blue of 600. I also want that my text should also change, but there's no way that I can just continuously write it. Hover, after this, again, I have to say hover. Yeah, there's no easy way. And I'll say text dash white. And that's it. Now it's converting that. Told you, it's super easy. When it comes with the Tailwind, it's super easy. Now we can give some margin from the top as well if you wish that this div deserves a margin. So give it a margin. Don't hesitate. I'll just go ahead and say margin top 5. Maybe that's the card you like more about it. But hey, that's all. Now again, rest of the cards are no big deal. They are just a copy paste. They are just syntactic sugar on top of it. So this is my entire div. I can copy this since as long as I'm inside this top div. So I should be actually indenting it a little bit. There we go. Since this is a flexbox, flex wrap, all are there. You can add as many cards as you like and they all will be wrapping. That's no magic of Tailwind. That's the magic of all of this. So you can notice the gap is actually too big on the smaller screen. So you can just reduce it. You know now how to change the screens and for the medium, for the largers and all of that. In fact, you can have 3, 4, whatever you like, and you can design the states of it. So told you, CSS, Tailwind is not magically writing CSS for you. That you have to do. You have to go ahead and play around with it. Again, I'm not a CSS guru. I just know how the basics are being done and that's how I always get along with it. So that's your first project. And I think now you have much more better idea of how the Tailwind is being used or done. If we are done with the Tailwind and you have learned enough, and I've showed you one project as well as just a showcase so that you can brush up your skills on CSS into the Tailwind, I realized, hey, why not one more project? So we'll be just sipping up a small tea and I'll showcase you one more project, which is among one of my favorite projects whenever you are building any web application. In any web application, the login forms, the registration form, and tons of other forms are very crucial because that's the way how you take information from the user. And one of my favorite forms these days are these side-by-side forms. I'm no expert in UX or UI, but I have a good decent experience in developer and I realized they look good and they are super easy to design, and if you especially use Tailwind, they are super easy to work on with. All we do in these kinds of form is divide them into half portion. The half portion is taken up by the image, and the best part is these are very reusable. Right now we are using for farm men, but hey, what's it's going to take to change it for a gym or maybe a juice shop or maybe an edtech or anything at all. Just the image part is something. It's really highly reusable. In any SaaS, you can actually reuse it. And when you actually shrink it for the mobile device, all you have to do is remove it. That is all it takes. And there you go, you get your form and it works nicely and very optimized on the mobile screen. Works really nicely. So we're going to be using this one. And I'm using one image from the free pick. So a big shout out to them for letting us use your resources. Actually, anybody can use it. You just have to give them credit. And this is the credit part. So I'll walk you through how you can actually go ahead and work on with this. Super easy to work on. Let's go ahead into the code part and we'll be taking the reference from here. I'll be using some icons as well that I'll walk you through. No worries that part, but we'll go with that. First thing we are going to do is let's right click and create a new file, and I'll call this one as login. Feel free to call it as register in your case when you're practicing. I'll just use an HTML for this one and our boilerplate code. Now, before we go any further, let's go ahead and switch it up so that we can have this into the watch mode. So the output CSS is actually being generated constantly, and we have already talked much about it. So I don't think there is a much need to talk about it. The most important part is to test out whether things are working for us or not. So first go ahead, let's link it up our CSS with the output CSS. That's it. Testing part, we'll have a simple h1 which has test. And let's add some class names here, and we'll be saying bg-orange. Let's go with the orange 600, and we'll say text-3xl. Yeah, that's it. Let's go ahead and try to go live with this one to see that whether the things are okay. So our CSS is getting generated. That's usually the test that I do most of the time. Now, apart from this, we are actually going to be using the same font awesome library here as well. So I'll just copy and paste it from my notes. I'll just put it. So you will also have the exercise file access. In case not, just look for it. It's a CDN from the font awesome version 6.4.0. You can find it onto any variety of providers. In this case, we are using a Cloudflare one, which is pretty reliable. So we are going to go with that. Okay, let's call this one as first a title. So this would be awesome or PW skills. Why not? PW skills login, and let's add a pipe tailwind. If I can write that tailwind, there we go. Let's see how does it looks. PW skills login tailwind. Okay, good, decent enough, decent enough. Now coming on to the part that how we are going to actually work with this. This is one of the simplest design that you are going to ever see. So first, let's go ahead and create a div. Now this div is obviously going to have two part of it. And if I go ahead and just say there's an h1 which is having a test1. Okay, test1 and test2, how does it look? So now, right now you can see test1 and test2 are just top to bottom. That's how the layout is by default. And you guessed it right. All you have to do is simply say, hey, I want to add a class, and the class is going to be just flex. No, not in caps, definitely. Flex. And the moment you do it, that's all it takes. Test1 and test2 are on left and right. But the problem is right now they are not consuming the entire width of your screen. So you need to provide that whatever the screen width you require, you go ahead and take that. There are a variety of options for it. I'll just go ahead and say H screen. And if you can hover it, it says that, hey, use the screen of 100% of viewport height. Now it doesn't do much as of now, but eventually when you will be injecting the image, that will be super, super helpful. That's it. That is it. Your entire project is. Now what's remaining is just add an image, and that's all it takes. So let's go ahead and remove first the H1 part of it. We'll also give some color to this one so that at least we can see what's there. BG-orange is always a great idea. These days I'm loving this color. What can I say? And we'll also say text-center just for no reason, just so that we have some things here. All right. Now, since this is a flex one, now another challenge in front of us is to have an image in the half portion of the web page. So it's super easy. Just go ahead and grab an image. I'll actually give you a source for the image as well. Again, a big shout out to FreePic because our team, while actually designing this project, used it. So credits to FreePic. Credits FreePic. Okay. Don't want any trouble from that side. So that's why. So there we go. Right now we can see the image is actually the way how we have actually brought up the image. It already has the width and height according to this one. But this is not always going to work the way we want it to be. So we have to provide some classes so it actually takes the half part of it. So for that, just say width is going to be, and yes, literally you can say 1/2. If you have other fractions, yes, you can go ahead and say that. This says width is 50%, and that actually solves my problem. And you can add any image now. That's the great part about it. Now, another thing is, right now, what we have done is, if I go ahead and shrink this, it doesn't look good. What I want is, the moment it's smaller screen, it should be hidden. The way we do it is, we go ahead and say that, hey, I want it to be hidden. So just go ahead and say hidden. The moment you say hidden, that means we know that the Tailwind is mobile first. That means it's going to be hidden for everyone, even for the bigger devices. So we have to override the property wherever you want. You can say for medium as well, but I'll go for the larger one. The moment it's larger, the property should not be hidden. It should be block because that's what the images are. And there we go. Now, if I go ahead and probably I did some mistake, larger, I should save this one. So this one is hidden, large and block, but should be all good. There we go. Sometimes it takes time to load because compilation CSS, you know the process, how it's there. Okay, so this looks good. And if I go ahead and shrink this, there we go. That's exactly what I want. If you want that it should hide above the medium screen or something, you can go ahead and do that work as well. Okay, so our half portion is done. Half of the part is all done. So we can just shrink this up. Okay, we can't. Okay, now let's move on to the other half of this, which is going to be my login section and how you want your login section to be. So I'll just cut this out, entire thing, and I'll actually go ahead and put it up inside a div so that we can see what's happening. Now this is also a div, but again, if we check out the portion, the design what we have, this time everything is going from top to bottom. This is the default behavior of the web, but I really want to control it. So I'll explicitly give it flex as column. Column means top to bottom. That's it. So let's go ahead and provide some of the classes for it. So first, obviously flex, and I want flex dash col, so that flex column is there. I want everything to be center, vertically and horizontally as well. Now, once you move flex as column, obviously you have changed your direction, but anyways, that's not going to bother us. So I'll just say justify as center, and I'll also say items center, the classic way to center everything. So this one is going to be items center. The moment I do this, now you will notice that, items center. So we have got everything center aligned. We can have margins, width, and all of that. Right now, this test 2 is not taking the entire space. It's not having a width control. Only whatever is required, it is consuming that much. So I can go ahead and add a little bit more of it. So I can say, hey, just take the full width here. The moment it says full width, so whatever is the remaining width in that div, it's actually allotted to that one. So that's nice. But again, I want to overwrite it, because if I go ahead and say width full, that's great, but I want it to take on the larger screen only half of the width, because that's, although it's working right now, but just to make sure that I don't break anything further in the future. So I'll just go ahead and say on the larger screen, take the width as 1/2. Not going to make any impact, just making sure that I am future proof and I'm not making any mistake for that. All right, so this looks good. Now, after this, all we have to do is simply go ahead and get the element one by one. And again, it's totally up to you how you want to grab it, how you want to wrap it, totally up to you. This was just a boilerplate code, kind of a demo section, example section. I'll first go ahead and wrap everything inside the div so that later on, if I want, I have the control in that. Now, after this, I'll go ahead and take one by one into each div. So this farm man will go into its div. The hello welcome will go on its own div. This whole login can go into its own login form. This can go into its own either form or div. We'll see that. First, let's talk about these farm man and hello welcome. I'll keep them into its own div. Again, no big reason, but I just want to have this one. So this div will have a text-xl. Now I can write it. I know what things I want. I want the text to be center. So I'll just go ahead and say text center. If you want text left, that's totally up to you. You can go ahead and have this one. And I'll also have the font -bold. All right, let's overwrite a little bit, because on the larger screen, I want text to be left. So no big deal. Larger screen, text is going to be left. There you go. That's it. Now inside this, we'll have a span, which is going to just say farm man. As I save this, let's go back. How does it looks like? There we go, looking good. And as the more content will come, this content will automatically get shifted on the top. Now, not only this, I do have a span in my notes, which I'll just copy and paste. This is nothing. This is just the small tilde that you see. Yeah, this small strange symbol, whatever that is. So this is what we have. Now, the great thing about this is now I can just go ahead and copy paste this. So I'll just go ahead and duplicate this. Almost same kind of a content and everything that I need. Instead of this text XL, I want 3XL. This one is actually a little bigger. And that's all. That is all what I need. And I'll go ahead and just add 2 lines up here. So I'll just remove these guys. Instead of that, we'll use an H2. So first one is going to say hello with a comma. We'll duplicate this one and remove this one, and we'll say welcome back. Welcome back. All right, looks good. So there we go. Almost there. I know there could be a difference. There is a difference in the font here. We are not actually injecting the exact font. But again, that's not a big deal. You can go ahead and inject form at any point of time. No big deal. Shouldn't be much worried or bothered. Now coming back onto the form side of it, form is actually relatively easier in this case. So we'll go definitely outside of this div as well. And we'll just go ahead and say form, or we'll say login form, register form, whatever that is. login form, and comment this out. Okay, how do I want this form to be? First of all, let's have a form. Action, nope, not interested in that part. So in this, we'll be having some margin from the top. So let's just say margin -8, which will give me around 32 pixels of margin. Again, if you feel that the margin is bigger, less, you can go ahead and work on with that. Again, you can design a width for your form as well. In case you have no idea about that, the best way of doing that is just go hard-coded 80% of that. Yes, totally allowed. Totally go ahead and do that. For the larger screen, if you want to overwrite, you can go ahead and do that. I'll say width that 96, which actually gives me almost like a 384 pixel. But again, no need. Usually these kinds of data you get either from Figma files or something, or designers will give you. Definitely we want to say mx-auto so that it's aligned on the x-axis, and we'll get some space from the y-axis as well. So we'll go ahead and say space -y-4 or 3, totally up to you. All right. So this is the basics of the form. Now let's go ahead and try to inject one by one things. First, let's have an H4. No big reason for having H4. You can have H3 as well. Login to manage your account. And dot or exclamation, totally up to you. So there we go. As we can see, this is already looking pretty good. Going good in this one. Now let's go have an input. Once we have one input, we can see the next one is almost exactly same. So no big deal. Let's grab one. It's time to design the one, and then the rest will follow up. So we'll just have an input. This will be of type email. So let's go ahead and have the email input. Not interested in the name, ID, all these fields. I'm just interested in the placeholder, which is going to say email. Let's see how does it look. So this is the default. Obviously, we can see that it requires some border and some width as well. We need some padding and margin as well. Not the margins. I'll say margins are okay, but padding definitely it is going to need. Let's see that. So let's go ahead and add in here. I'll just say, hey, give me some class. The first thing we need is border. The moment I say border, you can see already there is the border. Now, obviously, it needs to have a width. So let's go ahead and try to give it a full form width. So width dash full, whatever the form width, it is going to take that much. Now, obviously, it needs a little bit of the padding. So let's go ahead and give padding on x-axis. Let's try with the 2. All right, looking good. But we need a padding on y-axis as well. So padding on y-axis, let's try with a little bit. Padding on y-axis, let's try 2. Save that. Okay, good. We can have a little bit more on the x-axis. Let's try 4. Again, usually these exact values are given to you by the Figma files, but I think I'm happy. Is this rounded? No, it's square, so I'll just say. The rest of the impact is just of the font, so we shouldn't be much bothered. Although, from the design perspective, you can say you are not using any data attribute. This is not very compatible. You're not using any labels. Yeah, I know that, but that's the design. We have to follow that. All right. So this is the basics of it. Now let's go ahead and what else you want to have. Let's go ahead and copy this, and we'll have the password field. And this one is going to say, and this should be type of password. There we go. So we have now email and password, almost like that. Obviously, the font is different. The next step we want is a field which says forgot password. Now, forgot password, you can just wrap it up inside its own div, or you can just wrap it up inside its own span as well. I'll just go with the div, and I'll say forgot your password, if I can write that. Okay, definitely doesn't look the way we want it to be, but it's not really big deal. It's just font is there. We are not bothered about that. We are bothered about the color, so let's go ahead and give it a color. Shouldn't be much bothered about that part. Let's go ahead and give it a color, and we know that that's what we are following is text blue 600, a roundish. That's what our designer is following too much. And cursor pointer. So we'll just go ahead and say cursor pointer. All right, so this is what we have. If you look onto this one, this is exactly the same. The only difference is on the hover, we have a property, but we are aware of it that in the Tailwind, we can go ahead and override the hover properties. And we can say that the text blue is going to be 400. Text dash blue 400. That's it. That's all it takes. So now we have the same hover effect. Again, you need to consult your designer that how it's going to look like and all of that. The next challenge in front of us is this button, which is not even a challenge. It would be wrong to call it a challenge now at this point. Go outside of the div. You can align it as a button, div, whatever you like. End of the day, it's going to be an on-click property. Let's just go ahead and say login. Now, how we are going to make this one as a button? I'm pretty sure now you can actually guess some of the design classes on your own. So this is the button. So first of all, width is full, the text is white, background is green. I'm going to tell you background is green 600 that we are using. Rounded is there, some padding and margins are there. That's it. That's all it is. So I hope now you have more confidence in writing of it. Okay, so first of all, width dash full. So we have a width full. Let's see how does it looks like. This is my button. Doesn't really seems like, so we have to provide the background color. So BG dash green. We are using a green of 600. Okay, there we go. Half portion is done. Text needs to be white, so no big deal. We know that. Text dash white. All right, so text is white. Let's see how does it look. Good. Now only thing that's remaining is rounded and the padding margin. So let's go ahead and say padding on the y-axis be 2. All right, already looking good. Just say rounded. So we never left our HTML and almost done. Almost done, nothing big deal. Let's make a font a little bit bold. So font dash bold. Love that, how easy it is. Okay, now moving forward, we again have a hover effect onto the real one. So this is the one that we have. So let's go ahead and have a hover effect onto this one. Nothing much. We are using a 400 or 500, something like that. So BG dash green, usually designers will give you. So green 400. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So there we go. I guess that's not 300. That's wrong in my notes. I think that's 500 more. Yeah, that's more like it. All right. So this is our form. Okay, let's go ahead and close it up here. So form part is done. Now what's remaining is rest of the elements. So how we can plan this out? I'm pretty sure you can plan it out. The next item is or, which will take its own span. No big deal. No big issue there. These ones, they are just flex. I can tell it already. I'm pretty sure you can also tell it already. They are just flex. Nothing much to be done there. Okay, let's go ahead and have a div. This div is not going to have much. We'll just align everything as text center. So we'll just say text dash center. All right. And we'll get some spacing as well. So we'll say space dash y dash 4. Nothing much. This actually gives you some margin and bottom, some calculated spaces. So that's why I prefer to have the space y. In case you don't like it, margin top, margin bottom, your friend, always go for it. Let's have a little bit more margin on the top. So totally go for it. No big deal. First have a span, which is going to say or, just like this. So we can see, hopefully our or is there. Font is different, but our or is there. Now we need a div, which is going to be obviously a flex, and we'll have these 3 logos. So let's go back up here. Let's inject a simple div. This div is going to have obviously a class of flex, and the remaining classes will just get suggestions. So justify center and items center. I almost all the time uses them. Items center, and we'll also introduce a gap property so that whatever the element you are injecting, there is a gap between them. So I'll just go with a little bit more. I'll use a gap of 8. Feel free to have. Now the advantage what this has given us is if I go ahead and say H4, just to give you example, this is, let's just say Facebook. This one is, let's just say is Twitter, and this is just, let's just say LinkedIn. The advantage is now they are looking absolutely fantastic. And obviously we'll replace them with the icons, the font awesome icons, but you get the idea that how they were actually placed. That's the more important part of it. If I go ahead and inject these eyes, I'll just remove it here. And there we go. They're nothing much more than text. So instead of the text, we are actually using the icons here. So there's one is Google, Facebook, and Instagram. But again, the concept is exactly similar. So we don't have to worry that much. The next part that's remaining is this line. There is nothing in this line. We have already seen the more complex part of it. So I think that is all done. Now, only thing that's remaining is font. We can definitely inject the font, but I'm not interested in that part. Okay. Now, don't have an account, sign up. Okay. All right. Let's see how we can do this. So we'll just wrap up this div. Okay. And we'll even wrap up this div as well. So we are happy with this, and we'll just inject another div. Which is going to say that, hey, don't have an account and blah, blah stuff. So I'll just go ahead and say, don't have an account and account. So we'll just go ahead and say, sign up here. All right. So how this is going to traverse, first of all, let's have a simple class. Okay, already looking good, but all we have to do is little bit spacing. That's all. So let's have some margin top 4. I think that's all. Let's make the text a little bit smaller just in case, and text center. I love that. Okay, probably too small, but you can just make it bigger one, no big deal. Also, we can see that the sign up here is actually in some color. So no big deal. We can just go ahead and do that within seconds. I'll just go ahead and cut this out, inject a span, just like that, placed it here. And I know this should be super easy now. I can inject the class and I can say this is going to be text dash blue. You know this 600 and cursor pointer. That's it. And there we go. Told you. Looks like almost same size, but yeah. This is all good. Now, if you want any hover specific or something like that, you can go ahead and do that. Now, here is the interesting thing. If you want or if have a font, you can just go ahead and inject it directly in the body. I don't have that font, I believe, but you can just go ahead and say any font that you have installed or injected. I think I have font mono. So there we go. Looks all great. So yeah, probably that's the one. Okay, we can see that in the original design, there is a lot more spacing in this farm man. In our design, it's less spacing, but no big deal. We can inject the spacing, margin top, margin, all of that. But hey, this is also looking pretty good. All right. So this was the whole idea behind having this. So the more project you will be doing, the more practice you'll be doing. And I'm not going to say that you'll automatically become a magician or master of the Tailwind. It's more about how much projects you are doing, how many designs you are taking down, and eventually the struggle, all of this. So nobody is able to do these kinds of design in the first go, but more the practice you'll do, the more it is better for you. One final recommendation for you is try to build more stuff on your own, watching more videos, watching more tutorials, and letting them do in front of all these things. Sometimes they give you some behind the scene or the strategy to take it down, but after that, that's all. You shouldn't be bothered much. You shouldn't be falling up into the tutorial hell. Build something on your own, try them on your own. That's going to teach you how the code is being written, and that's the way you will be mastering the Tailwind. Again, I'll like to end this lecture, this whole long lecture, with the saying that I'm no master of the Tailwind, but I know enough to just play around the things on my own. I enjoy more of the code side of it, but still, anybody and everybody should know at least this much bits and pieces of CSS. That's good for your web development journey. So that's what we have. So that's it for this video. Hope you have enjoyed this. If you have enjoyed this, do let me know in the comment section. I'm always looking forward for your feedback and your appreciation. That's more important for me. Thank you so much, and I'll surely bring more such videos for you.